Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Thank you for tuning into the channel. On today's episode, I'd like to discuss a module that I think would be perfect for an all-drow adventuring party. There's already a pre-written adventuring module for Dungeons & Dragons called the Dungeons of the Mad Mage. I don't know, you may have already heard of it. I'm currently running the Dungeon of the Mad Mage for my players, and I think this module is perfect for an all-drow adventuring party. Stay tuned for this video. I'm going to explain why I think so. Be warned, there are plenty of spoilers ahead for the Dungeon of the Mad Mage module. If you're one of my players, please stop watching this video because it's gonna spoil all the shenanigans and fun. And if you are a DM and you aren't running this or have no interest in the Drow campaign, you may just want to stick around because I will be going through the book in some detail. And I just want to specify that this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm not really certain how to pronounce the name of the Dark Elves. I don't speak that language. But I think since Drow rhymes with ow and the attitude of the Matron Mothers, it only seems fitting that it would rhyme with an exclamation for pain. I suppose the Dark Elves could be called the Drew or the Drow or something kind of fantasy world like that. But since Drow rhymes with ow and the Matron Mothers really aren't the nicest of folks, I think that kind of works. So before we start digging into the module, the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and why I think it'd be great for a Drow adventuring party or an all-Drow themed campaign, I'd like to give a little background on Drow culture, as well as a brief synopsis and history of the Drow and how they came to be. According to the Forgotten Realms lore, which is the one that I like to go with. And if you are interested in learning more about Drow culture with the Forgotten Realms version of the Drow, I would recommend R.A. Salvatore's trilogy about Drizzt Do'Urden, and once again, I don't speak that language. But the books are amazing, and if I can find them on Amazon, I'll leave an affiliate link down below, which will those sales from that help out this channel a little bit. But I really did enjoy those books by R.A. Salvatore. They're legendary in the D&D canon. So I highly recommend, if you haven't read them, to go ahead and read them. So back to the brief synopsis about how the Drow came to be. Once upon a time, there were the elven gods in D&D canon. There was the god Corellon Larathion or something like that. Once again, I do not speak Elvish. And Corellon had a side piece, a consort named Lolth, which I think is kind of loosely based upon Lilith of the rabbinic lore. Basically what happened is that Corellon and Lolth had a lover's quarrel, and the Drow were victims of said battle and messy breakup. What happened is Corellon and Lolth had a lover battle, which got really ugly. The elves were divided, split up, and Corellon banished Lolth and her followers a couple miles below the ground into a really hazardous area called the Underdark. And Lolth led her Drow followers to safety, helped them establish some cities, and basically set herself up to be their goddess. Originally, I think she was like a demon or something, but then got deity status in the realms. And by doing this, she made them extremely codependent. Basically, extremely, like the Drow's entire existence is based upon Lolth and her favor or not. Drow society is a matriarchy. It's also a theocracy. The Drow cities, the underground, are ruled by a set number of aristocratic houses. The Drow cities are ruled by councils of Matron Mothers. These Matron Mothers are all high priestesses of Lolth, and the balance of power is always shifting because Lolth is a very chaotic deity, and if you go out of her favor, there's a good chance some of the other priestesses will attack your compound and destroy it. The society is very sneaky, very treacherous. Lots of sacrifices to the Queen of the Demon Web Pits, as Lolth is also known as, which does not really sound like the friendliest of monikers. In Drow houses, the third-born male is automatically sacrificed to Lolth, so this keeps the number of males lower than the number of females. According to the D&D lore, Drow tend to reproduce at a higher rate than surface-dwelling elves, but there's so much treachery that their numbers are kept low. So in this book, The Dungeon of the Mad Mage, there are several Drow houses from a city called Menzoberranzan, which is also featured in R.A. Salvatore's books, which is another reason why I recommend, if you're going to run this, that you read his literature, because it features the city that a couple of the matron mothers in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage come from. Let's take a look at this module, Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is published by Hasbro Games under Wizards of the Coast. This is for levels 5 through, I think, 20 or 21 or something. So before you take your Drow party into this, you'll need to start somewhere. And a good place to do that would be Waterdeep Dragonheist, which is the prequel module to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And featured prominently, a quest giver is a Drow by the name of Jarlaxle Banrae. Once again, I don't speak Drow or Elvish. In the R.A. Salvatore canon, he is one of the rogue sons of the head high priestess of Menzoberranzan. He plays an active role in helping his mother do political sway. Even though he's not officially affiliated with her house, he kind of really is. So anyway, Waterdeep takes him and puts him in the Dragonheist. This is for levels 1 through 5. So if you don't want to homebrew something for your players, level 1 through 5, you could go ahead and whip this out. So the Drow play are heavily featured in this. And to begin with, back in the old days when somebody would have a dungeon adventure, the players would just stumble across it, and it was kind of assumed they would just go ahead and go jump in there, check it out, just because that's what D&D was about. But nowadays things are a little different. People like adventure hooks and starting quests, so there are some in this book if you want to take that route. But I think having this guy give your players some quests would work out perfectly. Or perhaps your players are still working for one of the matron mothers. So let's go ahead and start with where we first come across the Drow. Level 1, we don't really have any Drow. Level 2, we have a couple Drow here. We have Drow in the Were-Rat gang. There's a Drow wizard by the name of Rizaril. He is son of the matron mother in the House of Auvryndar. And then we also have a leader of the Xanthar Guild, a Drow named Shun, Spider Eyes, Shureth, commands the Northern Watch Post at Area 9. And then you have Nadi the Unbent, who's also working for Xanthar, but they're not Drow related. So these two are the opposing forces in this. That's a great story hook. Also, Rizaril, who is, I believe, in this area right here. He has a key, a stone key that opens up a gate. That would be a really good adventure hook. And let's see what else we have going on here. So that's pretty much the Drow main focus. Everything else is just kind of flavor and some great classic dungeon crawl material. So that would be the two main Drow connections on this level. So for Shun Shureth, a Drow priestess of Lolth placed a curse on Shun and forced him into exile after he displeased her. The curse partially transformed him into a spider, giving him 8 red arachnid eyes, a mouth full of fangs, and black bristles are sprouting from his slender limbs. So that's one option. He actually apparently likes that mutation, so I would... he really doesn't want to get his thing turned. He doesn't really want to get turned back. So then over here we have the Base de Resistance. This is Rizaril. He works for two groups. Rizaril works for two groups. House Auvryndar, a low-ranking drow house from Menzoberranzan that is slowly and secretly consolidating its power in Undermountain, and the Zentarim, which is trying to drive out the Xanthar Guild out of Skullport. Be two potential story arcs. One thing to think about in your adventure: are your players working for a Matron Mother or not? That's a key factor. And if they are working for a Matron Mother, which one are they working with? There are a couple featured in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and perhaps your players are working for one of those houses, or perhaps they're working against them, or perhaps they're working for another house to help break down and destroy the house Auvryndar, or the opposing, their rival or something. There are all sorts of options here that you can go with. So next level, we have level 4, which are the Twisted Caverns. Actually, we skipped a level here. We skipped level 3. Let's go back. So here in level 3, we have the House of Auvryndar. A drow priestess of Lolth named Teresa Auvryndar and her retinue have assumed control of a section of Strom Kuldur, Area 20, and converted a temple once dedicated to a dwarven deity into a hatchery for giant spiders. Then we also have the Legion of Azraq, which is a hobgoblin settlement located here on the map, which are diametrically opposed to the drow. Apparently, this used to be under control of the hobgoblins until the drow came in and took it over. So this section is drow, hobgoblins, sea hags, miscellaneous stuff. There's a drider down here. So this is an option right here. If you're working for the House of Auvryndar, this could be an outpost, and maybe one of your missions is to drive out Hobgoblin Town. Perhaps you're working for Hallister, the Mad Mage, and he somehow hired Drow to take out Drow, and he wants you to remove all these guys. In which case you would be allied with the Sea Hags over here, or could potentially be allied. You could use this as an outpost. So here's a bunch of the children of the Matron Mother of the House of Auvryndar are located on this level. So that's pretty significant. There's a son down here, some daughters here, and a daughter here. There's a lot going on. Also, there is a cell with captives. Every drow settlement seems to have captives, so that could be a side mission. Perhaps you've been commissioned by Jarlaxle to come over here and release some of the captives. The west end of this hall has 6 cells with barred doors of rusted iron. The 3 westernmost cells are occupied by armed male drow named Quave, Narlos, and Temek. Hey, Quave! They are being tested by Teresa Auvryndar, who is hungry for a new consort. Bow chicka wow 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 wow. The drow are all malnourished and have weeping wounds from the lashes of a scourge, which is a drow high priestess whip, which has like snakes on the end of it or something, like it's like tentacles or something. It's really ouchy. The drow are all malnourished. Oh, I already read that. Each has 8 hit points remaining. While locked in their cells, they attack intruders they can see with their hand crossbows. Well, you can easily just change that part. So maybe Jarlaxle from Waterdeep has sent y'all on a mission to rescue Quave. This is where it gets all naughty times. Pain und pleasure. That's where it gets all naughty times with the drow. Alright, so the next section that we have here is level 4 Twisted Caverns. So we have a drow contingent. We have a drow contingent led by High Priestess of Lolth, has holed up in areas 11 and 12. These forces report to Teresa Auvryndar on level 3 and are preparing to challenge whoever perseveres in the conflict between the Aboleth and the Quatois. The drow control access to one of the magic gates on this level. So once again, if you're working for the House of Auvryndar, maybe they want you to come in here and take out the Quatois or the Aboleth or whoever wins. One thing that I think is cool, it tells you aftermath of what happens. So whatever the players, how they alter it. So let's read the aftermath for the last level. If the forces of House Auvryndar are defeated, but the Legion of Azerok remains, the goblinoids reclaim and fortify their lost cavern. If the converse occurs and the Legion of Azerok is wiped out, the Drow secure the rest of Strom Kuldur. If both factions are defeated, the level becomes a playground for explorers from Skullport. Any good fortune visited upon the Legion of Azerok is temporary, as more of Azerok's goblinoids come under Xanthar's sway. Once the beholder has implanted intellect devours into the skulls of Azerok and Lurkana, it uses the Legion of Azerok as a bulwark to halt any Drow advancement into Skullport. The Sea Hags of the river Sargauth joined forces with Xanthar to hold the Drow at bay. Drow drama! Alright, so here's another potential story arc for your all-Drow party. Level 8, Slitherswamp. There is a detention cave which has a Drow male elite warrior named Zerk Dexpetal is chained to one of the 3 sets of manacles that hang from the west wall. The Nagas use the manacles to bind creatures that resist the magic of their rod of rulership. A sometime adventurer and unrepentant ne'er-dweller who pledges allegiance to no one, Zerk is willing to trade information about the surrounding caves or the thrall's routine in exchange for freedom to return to the Underdark. If he is freed, he avoids combat and is not above stealing from his benefactors. Perhaps just take this guy and say that Jarlaxle wants you to find him, or if you're working for a Matron Mother house, perhaps he's a runaway, Matron Mother has a crush on him or something, I don't know. Some kind of Matron Mother reason why he needs to come back alive. That's a good reason to go to this level, which is what has one of my favorites in D&D, the Bullywugs. I love Bullywugs. So apparently a year ago, Hallister used his magic to transport the Black-Tongued tribe of Bullywugs, along with its small army of giant frogs and giant toads, from a remote marshland to this level of Undermountain. He seeded them into parts of Slitherswamp, once controlled by the Yuan-Ti. The Bullywugs were quick to capture and domesticate 4 carrion crawlers and a hydra. Hallister also summoned a death slod named Kuketh to Slitherswamp. The Mad Mage keeps the slod's control gem in his sanctuary on level 9 and forces Kuketh to serve as the Bullywug's king. There's also some spirit nagas in here. I can't wait for my players to get here because I think Bullywugs are awesome. But anyway, there's another chance for some Drow. Here we go. There is a magic school on level 9 called Dweomercore. And it is just full of rotten evil students. It says right here, evil students. Dweomercore's students are described below. Encounters with them can occur anywhere at any time, though they appear most often in their favorite haunts. Once again, look at that, evil students. So Dweomercore, there could be reasons to come here. It's a school of magic, so maybe they need to get some scrolls, get some spells or something. There is a Drow student. There is a student, Elan Tenorthal. Elan is a Drow mage from a house that ran a lucrative slave trade operation in Skullport until it was driven out by the Xanthar Guild. He hopes to learn enough magic to one day conquer Skullport for his family. Like most Drow, he is predictably treacherous. His silken words are pleasant enough, but any alliance forged with him is doomed to end badly, and most likely in bloodshed. Alon extends the false hand of friendship to new arrivals while warning them to steer clear of the other students and the headmaster. They're all insane, he says. He likes to hang around where the action is so he can quietly observe where the characters keep their magic items and spellbook, which he fully intends on claiming once they're dead. So once again, don't forget, Dweomercore is full of evil students. This would be a good, once again, another mission. Maybe we need to get him, and maybe he won't be so treacherous if he is working for Jarlaxle or was promised something by Jarlaxle. This school is just full of trouble. That's all I got to say. Okay, so now we have level 10, which is once again has House of Auvryndar. So the House of Auvryndar uses Murial's Gauntlet as a staging ground for raids into other layers and is a base from which to launch attacks against House Freth, a rival Drow house that has a fortress on level 12. Vlanvelv, or Welv. Okay, here's her name. This is a really tough one. Is it Vlan? Is that W pronounced like a V, like in some European languages? Is it Vlanvelv or is it Vlanwelv? Auvryndar controls areas 13 through 30. The adventurers might have already encountered several of her children, her son Ranagax and her daughters Terissa, Silcrest, and Pelanonia on level 3, and her daughter Melith on level 4. The priestess is a diplomat through and through. Although incensed by the presence of adventurers in her fortress, she treats them cordially at first, offering them food, drink, shelter, and safe passage. In return, she demands that they hunt down and slay Murial. Oh, whoops, it's not Muriel. You're terrible, Muriel. It's actually Murial.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Who has become an unwelcome distraction. Vlanwelv kills them if they refuse. My players have not gotten here yet, so. Okay, so the dude that is causing her problems is Muriel the Misshapen. Despite being recruited by Hallister as a bodyguard, Muriel also studied magic under the Mad Mage. He is no longer human, having grafted his upper torso onto the body of a giant scorpion. So this dude is some magic scorpion-like dude who is causing problems with the Drow. I love that. That is great. There's a picture of him somewhere. In return, she demands that they hunt down and slay Muriel, who has become an unwelcome distraction. Vlanwelv kills them if they refuse. She's welcome to try. My players are pretty tough. The Drow priestess is never encountered without her adopted Drow daughter, Zres Orl-Ezir, and a Yokelol advisor disguised as a female Drow named Chalizana. To determine whether the character is Okay, so this is just some insider information basically about where you're going to find her. I love as a female Drow named Chalizana. Okay, so this is basically a Drow fortress, a Drow priestess. Here are the house insignias. The house insignia of Auvryndar and the house insignia of Freth, which are very important in Drow culture. Let's see, an interrogation room, of course. There's always something like this in Drow settlements usually. So, let's see. A male Drow named Kareth Ikorza and a summoned Quasit are interrogating a male Drow named Tazarek Osar, who is bound to an iron chair with spider silk. Observing the interrogation are two male elite warriors named Gelgos Argonray and Javan Krantene. But not serving as the consort of Dareneth Auvryndar, see Area 18B, Kareth is tasked with interrogating Drow accused of being House Freth spies. The Quasit has already used its scare action option on Tazarek, and Kareth is preparing to zap the prisoner with a ray of frost cantrip, hoping he'll divulge the identities of other House Freth spies in their midst. The Drow attack characters who interfere in the interrogation. Once Freth and his cronies are dealt with, characters can cut through Tazarek's bonds and release him if they so desire. If Zaran Adaragan, see Area 17D, is with the party, he questions Tazarek to make sure he didn't divulge any compromising information. The characters haven't met Zararan yet. Tazarek is determined to find him once he is released. So my players actually have encountered her children, and the Drow who is in the party, the Drow wizard, is a necromancer, so they slaughtered pretty much everybody and have turned them into zombies and have been walking them around their own compound as zombies, which is pretty crazy. And sick and twisted, but deserving because he is a male Drow and has been... He's got a little, let's just say, a little PTSD from the Drow culture. So level 11, we have the Trogdolyte Warrens. And the Drow we have on this level, Drow from House Auvryndar on level 10 and House Freth on level 12 are fighting each other for control of this level, all the while capturing troglodytes to use as slaves and doing their best to steer clear of the Behir. Steer clear of the Behir. Steer clear of the Behir. So here's some more possible story arcs for your all-Drow campaign. Here's the Freth Refuge. Here's the Drow Battle, which is pretty cool. So the way the Drow Battle is working, we've got a couple mages, some priestesses, and I think there's a demon that's been summoned or something. Let's see. The cavern is the site of a heated battle between House Freth to the north and House Auvryndar to the south. House Freth's forces are 9 male Drow led by a male Drow mage named Spireth Dalambra. The forces of House Auvryndar are 15 Drow, 12 females and 3 males, led by a female Drow priestess of Lolth named Shindrir Argunray. The forces of House Auvryndar are 15 Drow, 12 females, 3 males, led by a female Drow priestess of Lolth named Shindrir Argunray. The chasms are agents of House Freth, while the Hezru is a servant of House Auvryndar. So yeah, there is a demon. All 3 demons are outlined with fairy fire spells cast on them by the Drow of the opposing side, which is a good reminder of Drow tactics. They like to toss that fairy fire on their enemies ASAP to get that advantage with the attack. Characters who side with one Drow house become the focus of the opposing house's wrath. If the characters side with the house that wins, the leader of the victorious Drow parleys with them to find out what they expect in return. See below. If the characters end up on the losing side, the Drow show them no mercy. If the characters stay out of the fight, the forces on both sides dwindle slowly until the Hezru finally defeats the whatever the other ones, the other baddies. The Drow mage Spireth escapes using greater invisibility, leaving his forces to die fighting the Hezru. He has expended all his spell slots and must drink a potion, see treasure below, to restore his lost hit points. If he escapes, Spireth tries to hide and rest in Area 13. The Hezru has 72 hit points remaining at the end of the fight. Shindrir has cast none of her spells. She uses her healing magic to return the demon to full health as quickly as possible. House Avryndar's surviving fighting forces consist of 6 female Drow, which are healed by Shindrir's Mass Cure Wounds spell. So 6 females. So I think how many did she have before? 12 females and 3 males. So she had 15 and she's down to 6. She lost 9 of her troops. Okay, so here's more of the house Drow drama going on. Drow drama! So there is more Drow drama in this module with some of the battling houses from Menzoberranzan, but I thought I would leave that as a surprise and go ahead and finish this end of the video with some key questions that I think you as the DM and the characters need to figure out in your session 0 before playing. Who do your characters work for? Do they work for a Matron Mother in a city like Menzoberranzan? And if so, which Matron Mother do they work for? Do they work for Jarlaxle, perhaps? Or maybe Hallister has hired them to enter the dungeon of the Mad Mage to clear out the other Drow. As a player, is your character Drow royalty? If so, that changes things a lot. Is your character male, female, or does your character have the gender-swapping gift of Corellon? And how does that play into Drow society? A society that idolizes matriarchy and kills the males as sacrifices to the Spider Queen. This is also a good opportunity to play one of the demi-humans or the monstrous races, such as a bugbear, a minotaur, goblin, lizard folk, troglodytes, etc., instead of playing Drow. Drows are known slavers, so it could, if you're playing as a Drow campaign, it would make total sense that there is a bugbear or a minotaur running along with some of the Drow characters. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I'm going to sign off. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment below if you've ever played a Drow character or if you've ever been in a Drow campaign, and tell me a little story about it. Thanks a lot. Have a good one and stay safe out there.